Hey folks, Pat here from DNS, and this Madison area fishing report is current as of Friday, May 23rd. Well, happy Friday, everybody. We made it through another week, and we got Memorial Day coming up here, so I hope maybe you got off work for a couple days, maybe you're heading out of town. Either way, no matter what you do, I hope you got some plans to get out and do some fishing. Looks like it's going to be gorgeous out there. Just a couple things to go over. If you're wondering if the bass are biting around town, you really don't have to look any further than some of the local bass clubs and what they're doing out there. The Madtown Bass Club had their Big Bass Bash fundraising event for their club. And yeah, some nice fish caught here. Tyler Nelson and Jason Burnham dominated many of the hours. These guys are beasts out there, especially on Mendota. But you can see a lot of the other guys also did very well, catching some huge largemouth and some nice smallies. The Madtown Bass Club also does their weekly tournaments, and they had on Wapisa this last week. Some real nice fish, giant smallies, giant largemouth. And, congrats to all the guys that did well out here. And yeah, it's just really cool to see what a great fishery we have here in Madison. Casting for Kids was this last weekend. A great event. We're happy to be a sponsor of that. I guess they raised $188,000 for the Carbone Cancer Center and UW Children's Hospital. So awesome job, everyone. Thanks to the volunteers who volunteered their boat and guided folks out there. Thanks to everybody that participated, and especially thanks to the folks that organized and set this great event up. So they'll be doing it again next year, and we look forward to participating then as well. The Yahara Fishing Club, of course, I talk about them all the time and how great they are. They're hosting their Free Kids Fishing Day this year on May 31st. So that's not this Saturday, but next Saturday, down at the Warner Park Lagoon Rainbow Shelter. It's right behind the shop here, basically. And that'll be from 9 a.m. to noon. Great event if you want to get a kid into fishing, or you know somebody that's thinking about it. The first 300 kids walk away with a free fishing rod and rod combo. Baits provided by the shop here. We're happy to do that. You got experts on hand from the club to show you what's up. If you're an adult that doesn't have a fishing license, you don't need one. It's on the same weekend as the free kids or the free fishing weekend that the DNR does a couple times a year. And then to top everything off, you get a free lunch, hot dogs, chips, and a soda afterwards. So yeah, May 31st, mark your calendars. Warner Park Lagoon Rainbow Shelter, 9 a.m. to noon. If you got some kids 14 or under, get them down there. It's a great event. A couple little bit of shop news, I guess. So I don't know if you know this. Besides this report, I also do a phone report. You can call 608 Big Fish and listen to me talk about what's going on around town. I also do a weekly fishing report on WBEV out of Beaver Dam with Wade. I do a bi-weekly report on WORT here in town with Nate. And then I got a call from Ben from 97.7 The Farm asking if I would do a report with them. So I'm happy to be doing that. I guess we're going to do it every other week. And it's not so much a report as it is really just a chat about fishing. Ben sounds pretty knowledgeable about fishing. So we just kind of chat about what's going on around town. And it was a fun interview, and I look forward to doing more of those. A couple little things going on in the shop. Leeches. So we still have leeches. We've got some good ones in right now. I guess the batch that I'm getting today is going to be a better size. Most people would call them jumbos. I don't like using the term jumbos because there's always somebody that complains like, well, if it's not a 6-inch leech, it's not a jumbo, but they're jumbos. But I just call them larges and sell them for what they are. And we got more coming. So if you're thinking about stocking up, a lot of people do that this time of year. Swing in, I'd say for about the next month or so, we're going to have good sized leeches coming through. Willy worms, of course, we got restocked on those. I just wanted to mention that these new gold ones, the gold flake that are out, have been doing very well. I've been hearing from a lot of guys that are getting a lot of fish out there on these, and so that's great to hear. As far as stuff going on around town, we got this Distill America event. It's like a craft liquor thing down at Bree Stevens on May 31st. So take the kids to the Kids Fishing Day and then go down and celebrate down at Distill America. The Driftless Angler, great fly shop up in Viroqua, is having their an event up there on June 6th. It's kind of an all-day deal. Kaylin Hoggard, who's a friend of the shop here and a casting instructor and casting competitor, who was actually just I should have looked up his post, but was just accepted onto the USA fly casting team. So congrats to him on that. He's hosting a casting competition up there on June 6th. So if you want to compete, try your casting skills against some of the best, get up there. And then we got a poster here for the Kids Fishing Day, of course. I guess that pretty much does it for announcements. So, and I guess I usually talk about tournaments. I didn't see any registered tournaments for this weekend. I guess it being Memorial Day weekend, they probably don't get good turnouts for that. So no tournaments this weekend. And I guess weather-wise, what a difference a week can make. We went from a week in the 80s to a week at temps barely cracked in 60s with wind and a bunch of rain all day Tuesday and Wednesday. It was a good soaker. I'm not sure how much rain we got, but after being so dry, it definitely helped with plants and water levels and creeks and everything. So I'm glad to see that. The weekend ahead looks gorgeous with forecasted highs in the upper 60s. Looks like that continues into next week and through next week. So you can't blame the weather if you don't get out and do some fishing, that's for sure. The Mendota buoy sitting out here is reading 56 degrees near the surface and not much cooler as you go down all the way to the bottom. But that 56 degrees is almost 7 degrees cooler than it was last week at this time. So it just goes to show what that a week of cold temps and especially the wind churning things up can really do to a body of water. Really cooled things down quickly. The good news is for anglers is that with that cold water and, not hot temps, going to be in the 60s this weekend, should keep a lot of the pleasure boaters at bay. So, yeah, another excuse. Get out there and do some fishing while it lasts before things get too crazy on the weekends, a lot of times in the summer around here. So last week we were talking about several places that had fish actively spawning or getting ready to spawn. But according to what I've been hearing with this cool down we had, things have reversed a little bit. Smallmouth are still on beds in many shallow, rocky areas, and maybe even finishing up. They're not going to be there much longer anyway. Crappies are still either on beds or showing up on beds. Largemouth bass and bluegills, though, that I was hearing reports of them definitely being on beds last week, apparently have moved off those beds. So maybe they feel like they jumped the gun a little bit. They had a warm spell. They thought, okay, here we go, and then sort of were like, we'll just chill for a sec. So they backed off. And speaking of spawning fish, even though it's tempting, I would encourage folks not to keep fish if they're fishing on beds, just so we can keep those good spawners in the fishery and keep the outstanding fishery we have here in Madison going. Otherwise, pan fishing around town's been good in most shallow areas, especially bays and inlets. For gills, spikes or waxworms on an ice jig or redworms on a little bit bigger jig are working well for gills. You can find crappies in many of those same areas. Crappies are liking crappie minnows or a small minnow-shaped plastic under a jig on a bobber are a pretty safe bet for those fish. Bass anglers have been doing well, as you saw with the tournament reports there. Any number of presentations, Ned rigs, chatterbaits, swim baits, lipless crankbaits, you pick it. It's been producing. Walleye anglers have also been happy. Folks fishing from shore still having great success, mostly during low light hours, casting paddle tail swim baits, jerk baits like husky jerks. If you're in a boat, looks to those same shallow areas during low light periods. But if you're fishing during the day, work rocky shoreline breaks adjacent to those same shallow flats. And because those walleye like to push out a little bit deeper on sunny days. But if you're fishing walleyes on the live bait side of things, walleye minnows, blacktail chubs, small suckers, all great. Leeches also, I mentioned we got those. Any of those on a jig, drop shot, slip bobber, it can be super effective. If it's pike you're after, they'll grab just about any lure you throw at them, but our large shiners are a pretty safe bet on the live bait side of things. I haven't really heard much muskie action around town. It's usually slow this time of year, but usually for this kind of early season muskie stuff, just tossing a bucktail over some weeds is a pretty effective way to go. And you can't forget about trout, at least I can't. I'll get into more details like I do at the end of every report about trout, but this time of year really is the best time to get out and explore the wonderful trout streams we have in our area. And there's really just a couple weeks left before the weed, bugs, and heat show up. A little more detail we'll get into here up in Cherokee. The weeds are getting pretty bad here where everybody ice fishes near Cherokee Park, but if you got a small watercraft, you can launch here at the boat launch, get out kind of in the channel and away from some of the weeds. Good bass action out there, good pike. And of course you get panfish too. Down to 113. Sounds like the white bass are pretty much over, although I do hear about folks getting some down there. But it's just always a nice mixed bag. You never really know. Largemouth, smallmouth bass, walleye, pike, anything that swims you might find down there, but the cats remain the star of the show. Cut bait is still working very well for those fish, but it seems like things are starting to transition into crawlers, which is typical for this time of year, and then they'll be on a crawler bite till they move out of there and move back out into the main lake, usually about mid-June or so. So yeah, speaking of Mendota, just like the limnology folks said last week, the algae from a couple weeks ago on Mendota cleared up literally overnight, and the clarity on Lake Mendota is actually very, very clear right now. I've heard about folks being able to see the bottom in 15, 20 feet of water. So, but like I said in the intro, most fish are shallow still. Look for panfish in shallow inlets. Marshall Park, Spring Harbor, Dingle Bay are all good, pretty safe bets. University Bay, North Bay's got fish in it, although I do hear the weeds are coming up out there, getting pretty thick. Otherwise, you've got smallmouth are on beds for sure, generally pretty aggressive. Largemouth bass are hanging out shallow, getting ready to spawn. Like I said, for walleyes, look to shallow breaks, near shallow rocky breaks, Maple Bluff, uh, Governor's Island's great, Picnic Point. Any of the mid-lake humps are probably not holding fish yet, but anywhere you see rock on shore, you'll probably see rock under the water, and that you probably find some good walleyes, especially during low light periods. The area near Tenney, or I'm sorry, the Tenney Locks and Tenney Breakwall have been producing good fish. A lot of folks getting a nice mixed bag down there. A lot of smallmouth I hear coming out down there. The area below the Tenney Locks is um, been pretty effective for good walleye. Some good gills coming out of there, mostly at low light hours. The white bass seem to have kind of chilled out in the Yahara River. I guess I did forget to mention, there's tons of pike in Lake Mendota, and they're also super active. I guess that kind of goes without saying. If you listen to these reports, you know that for sure. Otherwise, Lake Monona, kind of the same deal over there. If it's panfish, you're after shallow bays, Turville, Weechawak, formerly known as Squaw Bay, um, and of course Monona Bay are all good producers this time of year. But city shoreline can be great, as the gills are probably stacked up out here a little bit, just waiting to push in. I know they spawn along there a lot, even on the Monona side too. Same thing. Old Brick up here, there's just a ton of gills in there, and some really nice ones I've been hearing about. So looking forward to this spawning season for sure. Otherwise, like I said, down in Monona Bay, great fishing down there along Brittingham Park on the tracks. Still getting a lot of gills in there. The crappies seem to have moved out to the wall out here, so I've been hearing about some good crappie action, mostly at low light times. But folks also getting some good gills off the Monona Terrace wall, and the guys fishing for crappies also getting some walleyes, a few bonus walleyes, and you never know, you might have a muskie. Talked to a guy this morning, had a muskie jump out of the water and grab his bluegill as he was pulling it up over the wall. Down to Winger, a lot of tiny gills, great bass population in there, and some good muskies. And the area below the Winger Dam is open for, as it's been closed, just opened on the 16th or something. So yeah, good panfish usually below there. Upper Mud, good panfish still out here in the dredge hole. The area around there has got some great bass in it, but I hear it is starting to get kind of weedy down there. Otherwise, the north end of Wabisa, same shallow flats down there. A lot of gills hanging out. Crappies are probably up spawning. Largemouth bass are going to be moving in there soon, and the gills right behind them. Same thing down on the south end of Wabisa. Those shallow areas are where you're going to want to look, especially if you're looking for panfish. I have heard about some crappies down along kind of the Bible Camp, Rockford Heights area, and of course the rocky areas out here in front of Babcock are good areas to look for walleyes, or Hog Island up here too. Fish Camp down on Kegonsa has been still producing a lot of good bluegills, although I hear the weeds are starting to come up in there as well. So look to any shallow areas, again, for panfish, and you'll likely find them. Walleyes have been active along the state park, the rocky areas out there. I guess some other stuff to touch on around the area. It sounds like things have kind of cooled down as far as the white bass run down in the Rock River. I do hear about white bass still at the Indian Ford and Jefferson dams. The walleyes, of course, were done spawning a while ago and have moved back down into Lake Koshkonong, where I hear the bite's been pretty good, picking up anyway. Mostly a trolling bite down there, and that'll remain that way for most of the summer. Otherwise, like I said, dams on rivers are always great for a nice mixed bag of fish. You never really know what you might find. Heard about some trout up in Devil's Lake, so if you want a little change of scenery, get up there. They've been getting some trout out here from shore still. Otherwise, the Wisconsin River wallet or smallies should be done spawning, so look for them in a lot of their usual haunts, rocky shorelines, woody shorelines, deep areas behind sandbars, deeper corners like outside bends on the river. Great smallie action out there. Otherwise, the dams, like I said, same deal as on the Rock. It's going to be just a nice mixed bag of fish. The white bass are still hanging out, still catch some walleyes, still catch some smallies. Anything you'll find at a dam up and down the river. Otherwise, on Lake Wisconsin, it sounds like the walleyes have moved back down into the lake. I've been hearing about some decent action, mostly smaller fish, and again, all your shallow bays around the lake are good for panfish until the weeds get thick in there. But again, Wisconsin Dells Dam, Castle Rock Dam, Petenwell Dam, all those spots, nice mixed bag of fish. Haven't heard much off the Mississippi River. All the runs are kind of over. I do get a lot of folks that come through the shop here, heading over to the barges at Genoa and Lynxville and stuff like that. But from what I hear from them, action's been kind of slow, or just like a random mixed bag. You never know. You might get a sheep's head and then a pike and then a walleye. So over to Milwaukee, the Coho run they're continuing to move up the East Coast over here. Still hearing about some action down out from Milwaukee, but it sounds like real good action out from Port. Washington, and they'll just continue to move up as the water warms. Otherwise, as far as like shore angling goes, I don't know of much going on at the harbors right now. I know the perch bite can be good down there. I'm not sure if that's happening yet. Otherwise, the Milwaukee River and all the tributaries, but especially the Milwaukee River has a great smallmouth and pike population, and the levels down there are good for wading right now. So if you find yourself in Milwaukee or you want to make a trip, head over there and check it out. Otherwise, you got the Wisconsin River, which is fantastic smallmouth fishing, and the levels on the Wisconsin are great too. I don't think I mentioned that. Otherwise, yeah, we got trout fishing. You can't forget about that, of course. I was able to do a bunch of fishing this last weekend and some camping into the week, and it was fun. It was cold, but we got some fish. Um, Creeks are generally running low and clear, is what I ran into anyway. I don't know how much the rain affected it because, like I said, it was a slow soaking rain, which doesn't tend to affect the creeks that much. So we should be good to go for the weekend. But yeah, it's a great time of year to be out before all the weed, heat, and bugs show up. May is one of the best times of the year for sure to do trout fishing, especially if you're dry fly fishing. On the spinning gear side of things, though, suspending or sinking jerk baits like husky jerks and countdowns always work. Crappie sized tube jigs are great. Panther martins, of course, are hard to beat. If you're using live bait, you can use chub tails and minnows and stuff like that. But really, just a redworm drifted through a lot of the runs and tailouts is super, super effective. On the fly side of things, we'll just segue that right into our happy fly day feature here. Of course, nymphs work. I ran into some cloudy water on one creek that had some construction on it. And so I was fishing nymphs and did well with a beadhead pheasant tail. But any of these hare's ears, caddis nymphs, there were a lot of caddis popping off. Scuds always work. Might be getting a little late for a pink squirrel, but of course a beadhead woolly bugger is also really hard to beat. But on the dry fly side of things, it's like I've been saying the last few weeks, April and May are months to be fishing dry flies. Blue-winged olives coming off. I didn't see many blue-winged olives personally, but I was distracted by all the caddis that I was seeing. So ran into a couple good caddis hatches, and the fish were looking up. So you make sure you have some caddis and some blue-winged olives in your box if you're out this weekend. If you don't see them rising, throw on a flimp. These are great. Work subsurface because sometimes they're not coming all the way to the top. They're snapping those bugs right before they get there. And these sparkle duns actually make a great, caddis slash olive mayfly pattern. So throw one of those on and you can kind of cover all your bases. But I guess that pretty much does it for the report. I do want to thank you for tuning in. Do feel free to post your comments and catches below. Love to hear what's going on around there. If you want us to expand on anything or talk in more detail, feel free to call the shop at 608-241-4225, and we can let you know what we're hearing around town. Otherwise, have a happy and safe Memorial Day weekend. I wish you luck if you get out fishing. I hope you do, and we will talk to you next week. Thanks so much.